All right, well, greetings, my friends. Welcome to our webinar today. We're so excited for those of you guys are joining and some those of you are part of it and those of you joining right now. We're excited to have you, and we believe this is going to be an amazing time. And so while people log in, I just want to make a couple announcements for all of us to know. So first of all, I just want to thank everybody who does everything to make sure this webinar does happen. And first person that I want to thank you actually is Alex Ankudovic. He's been a faithful servant of putting those webinars together, working with speakers, calling me, calling all of us. And so thank you, Alex, for all your hard work. And also want to thank his wife. She helps out him as well with those webinars. Want to thank Walter, who's also behind the scenes right now, also serving. Big help. Today we are having a panel of youth pastors, and I'll talk about them in a second. But Walter called each one of them, arranged to make sure everything works fine and well. So thank you, Walter, for all your work. So thank you, those who are making this happen. My name is Daniel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a youth pastor here in California, and I'm grateful to be hosting this webinar today. A couple other announcements I have. Just want to say that for those of you who live on the East Coast, there's going to be One Coast Conference in New Jersey, August 10 and 11. It's going to be an amazing, good conference. They're going to have Russell Courts as a speaker, Tony Gallant, the youth pastor, former youth pastor from Times Square Church. I mean, it's going to be an incredible time. So I encourage everybody, West Coast people especially, and East Coast people and West Coast people as well. So if you will have that opportunity, join them for the conference. Want to tell you also that we have a lot of resources and the website that brother Alex Ankudovic has been working on, iGrowLeaders.com. If you go there, you can find our past webinars that we had, a lot of good resource that will bless your ministry, your youth ministry. So go on there and find more information. And also want to let you guys know that in October, I believe it's October 11th, 11 through 13, we're gonna have a youth leaders retreat in California. It's a really beautiful place that I have rented. It's in Truckee, California, really close to Lake Tahoe. I mean, it's a beautiful big home. It's a 4 stories home, has everything, a really beautiful view, has like sauna, jacuzzi, inside theater. I mean, it's amazing. We're gonna have a lot of youth leaders from across the U.S. coming together. We're gonna have Alex Ankudovic, Serge Fitzai, Yuri Boats, and other speakers that will be coming, sharing their hearts. And it's going to be amazing to connect with a lot of youth pastors, youth leaders. So I encourage all of you guys to register. So let me tell you the website. If you go on our youth website, which is nsym.us, nsym.us, and if you press on youth pastors, it's going to lead you to a registration page for that for the retreat. I really would like to see you all there. Fly into Sacramento, we'll pick you up, we'll take you there. I mean, it's going to be a great time. So encourage all of you guys to join us in California in October. There's other speakers that we're working with that might be joining us. So I believe it's going to be a great time of sharing this experience, connecting with other youth leaders. So that's just a couple of the announcements that we have, and I see a lot of people already join in. And as we start this webinar, I want us to pray that God's blessing will be over us, and I'll introduce the topic and I'll introduce all of our panelists. So let us pray. Father, we thank you so much for this day. Thank you for this opportunity that we can connect together with all the youth leaders from across the United States. God, thank you so much, Father, for just this amazing opportunity. And Lord, I just pray that your blessing will be upon us, God, upon the panelists, God, upon this discussion that we're going to have, that everything that is going to be talked about today that will bring glory to you, it will help us grow more and more in you, God, and in your word, Father. So I pray blessing over this webinar. Give everything into your hands. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So the webinar today, as you guys know, is how do we pass our limitations? And basically, it's about the power of the mentor. 2 Timothy 2:2 says this, and what you have heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. And as I was looking through the Bible, I've seen a lot of examples of mentorship in the Bible that help people grow higher and higher. And so we see, for example, in the beginning of the Bible, talking about Jethro, the father-in-law of Moses, who mentored Moses, and then Moses mentored Joshua. Then we read about Eli, who mentored Samuel, and then we know Samuel mentored Saul and David, and then David mentored Solomon. We know that Mordecai mentored Esther, and we know that Priscilla and Aquila mentored Apollos. Jesus mentored his apostles. Paul mentored Timothy, and so on and so on. And we hear a lot of examples in the Bible of mentorship. And I think it's really incredible what God created, that relationship with people that we have, and the mentorship relationship that we can have. And personally, in my life, I've been impacted by mentors. There was different mentors that came into my life at different times. One in particular had the most impact on me, and to an extent, that mentor is my coworker or my boss to the extent. But I had a lot of different bosses in my life. But in a sense, this mentor is particularly the one that really was consistent with meeting with me, investing time with me, into me, listening to me, encouraging me, believing in me. And I think that due to this mentor that I had, it really raised me up as a minister, as a leader, particularly where I work at Teen Challenge, particularly in the youth department that I serve as a youth pastor as well. So they had a great impact on me as a pastor. And as we go on, I would like to have a poll real quick. So I see a lot of people in attendance now, and I want you guys to answer a question. And the first question, if it will be, do you currently have or had a mentor? If you can answer this question, so we kind of can see what we're talking about. As I said, so it starts now. Just vote, press yes or no. We're gonna hear a lot from a lot of youth pastors soon. They're gonna share about their experience. But do you currently have or had a mentor in your life? And whatever that means for you, so let's see, do we have the results now? So 64% of the people said that they had a mentor in their life. That's a really good thing. And then 36% said they never had a mentor in life, and that's typical in our Slavic communities. We don't hear much, or we haven't heard much about mentors. The next question I also want to put out on the poll would be, who have you been mentored by? So have you been mentored more by books, podcasts, videos, more kind of technology-wise, or have you been mentored by a person? So we have 20 seconds to answer that question. So who have you been mentored by? And I know we read a lot of books. I personally read a lot of books and get encouraged a lot from those things. But also, we do have those people that are in our lives that encourage us as well. And so we have results, and great results. So 30% says that they've been mentored by books, podcasts, and videos, and 70% been mentored by a person, which is a really good positive thing. And then let's look at the third poll question that we have, so we can see if you have been mentored by a person. As I said, there's 70% of people said they've been mentored by a person. Who was he or she? And you have options of your pastor, your friend, your parent, and other pastors, ministers, meaning that pastors and ministers that are not from your church or somewhere else. So who have you been mentored by as a person? If you have been mentored by as a person, who would that be? So you guys can answer that. We have a couple more seconds, and we'll look at the results. And there's the results. So 10% been mentored by their pastor, 10% been mentored by their friend, 40% been mentored by parent, which is incredibly encouraging. You don't see much of parent mentorship in our community, so at least I don't see much. And others and pastors and ministers, that's a really big number as well. And there's reasons for all of them. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of the poll. So right now, I would like to introduce to you guys all of our panelists. If you get them on in a second, we have Max Gonchar. He's from California. And then we have Nick Rudyshyn from Georgia. We have Vlad Blyznyuk from New Jersey. We have Boris Shulga from Florida, from the warm Florida, and we have Slavik Bylik from California, San Francisco, California. Thank you guys for joining us. Welcome. We're just so grateful. Everybody from different states, we're really busy schedules, but thank you guys for joining us today. And so I would like to start with, let's start with Georgia and ask Brother Nick, why don't you share with us how have mentor impacted your life, personal life, and your ministry? And we cannot hear you, Nick. So you're gonna have to unmute your microphone.
Can you hear me, guys?
We can hear you now.
There you go, magic. Okay, guys. Hey, everyone. My name is Nick, and it's a great privilege and honor to speak to you guys. And thanks, Alex and Kadoch and Daniel. You guys all do great job, and doing organizing things like that is super cool. It's super encouraging, and it's something that will grow and impact all over the place. And you are getting that done right away. So a little story about me. My name is Nick. I'm from Ukraine. So I'm living here in America for only 18 months. So it's like a year and a half. I'm 33 years old. I'm married to one wife for 7 years now. I have one child. His name is Tima. He's 4.5 years old. And we are here, and it's so amazing how God impacts us and how God used how I came in here to America. It's like a miracle thing. But it's completely different story. I've been speaking with Alex and Kadosh on a phone for over an hour. Yeah. But we're into the power of the mentor, and I'll tell you honest. My first mentor, it was he is right now. He's my brother-in-law who is a pastor of the church that I've been attending for 8 years while living in Kyiv. So the power of the mentors. This is something really very unique to me. It's someone who trusts, to who you can trust. He is my advisor. He's my guider. He's my counselor, and we had this conversation with him. I got first to his house at the age of 19, and we just had a good time, dinner time at his table. And he said to me something, trying to share and then give some ideas. So he said, hey, I either can help you and I want to grow and support you in every way, or this story can end up in our story can end up in a year time, in the daytime, So at that evening, I told him, yes, I am. I want you to speak into my life, whatever it takes, so how long it's going to be, how hard it's going to be to receive. So he's the one who knows about me every single detail. I've been with him, even living here in America. I've been with him on the phone, over the phone for a number of times. Every second week, I'm with him on the phone. I can share with him simply about anything, about my marriage life, about my ministry life, about my work life, about my private life. He He's the one who can hear and know me as no one else from the outside. He's ready to advise me, and he's the one who helps me to make right choices. Mentor is someone who can grow into the greater person, leader, or whoever you are or whatever you do. So do not be afraid that someone can discover about your weaknesses, and do not be afraid to be naked. What I mean by that, it's very important for us at the minister to have someone has a greater knowledge, who has a greater experiences, and let your weakness become your strength by the power of mentor. It's really important to uncover, and the mentor is somebody who will help you and not to let you down, but he will grow you, he will mature you. And what I am right now is because I had this person, Alex Ozaruga, who is my mentor till today, and he helps me out on a daily basis, encourage me. He's my pastor. I had a great privilege to live in his house for 6 years, and throughout this, I mean, not everyone can have that time, but it was a unique time to hear, to draw, to receive from him all the wisdom that he has, all the suggestion, advices on every single and simple occasion, and he really did a great job, and I haven't regretted since then. And uh, as I'm here at the youth pastor in New Life Church of Atlanta, it's because someone has impacted my life and been pushing me forward on and on. So, mentor is the one who can carry your burdens. As the Bible teaches, carry burdens each other. And my time is out, and be blessed. So let's keep on going our discussion. Hopefully, it's been helpful.
Yeah, incredible testimony. I just want to tell everybody who's watching, um, uh, each of the leaders will share their story. But if you have any questions for the panel, we're gonna have questions towards the end. So so questions and answers. So just write them down on the chat on the right side, and then we'll be able to talk about that. Next person I want to introduce, and I already introduced him, Vlad Blyznyuk. He's a young, one of the newer youth leaders. And Vlad, why don't you share with us the power of the mentor in your life and how it impacted your ministry as well?
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Privileged and honored to be on this. Thank you so much. Excited to learn, to hear from you guys. I mean, I believe mentorship is so crucial. I was thinking about this the other day, preparing for it, and I think as just reading about it, thinking about it, I think you can go fast alone, but you won't be able to last without a mentor in terms of on the right track, stay in the right track, and finish the race well. And and I think there's different mentors for different areas of life. And someone that really impacted in my leadership is actually Alex Ankudovich. Remember one time we got together in Olive Garden. So I mean, he's a busy guy, and he makes time for me to to sit for 2 hours in Olive Garden with me, and we're chatting about youth and stuff like that. And I'm sharing my goals for the youth, and I'm like so excited. I'm so pumped about it. He's like, yeah, that's good, that's good. And he's like, what are you gonna do tomorrow about it? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, well, what's the next step for these goals? And I was so hit because I set these goals. We were so pumped, but we had no plan of action. And just things like this, Alex really started to guide me through on like practical leadership. What does it take to actually implement goals into a youth ministry? What does it take to actually implement a plan into the youth ministry to achieve something? And I mean, Alex is someone that I can call anytime, ask him any question, and be like, hey, how do I do this? What do I do this? I don't know what to do here. And Alex has been open with me there, and I think that's crucial from a leadership standpoint, to learn from people and to be open to learning. That's something that I pray about, that I'm always open to learning from people, so that I don't have to make mistakes. I learn from other people's mistakes in a sense. And I mean, someone else that has really impacted my life, and it's kind of happened just because it happened, is one of the deacons at our church, Alex Krishchuk, and just spending time with him on a daily basis. It's not nothing like official, nothing scheduled. Just spending time because we serve together, and my perspective gets changed all the time. Sometimes as young people, we have this rash decision. We want to do something real quick, and especially me, like you feel angry, you feel disappointment, you feel this, and you want to make a decision real quick. And just talking to Alex about it, and it's not like a therapy session. It's just talking to him as a brother, as a friend, and he listens to you, he asks a couple questions, and your whole perspective changes, and you're like, you don't want to do what you wanted to do before talking to him, and so. And I realized how much mistakes, how much crazy debates he saved me from because of just talking to him. And I think that's crucial for us, for me in my life, just seeing how mentors can impact the perspective that you have on different things, how mentors can really guide you and help you stay on track in life and keep you accountable. So, I mean, mentors have impacted my life beyond what I can even say.
Yeah. Cool, incredible. Thank you. Can I get Alex's number? Yeah, he's a really good encouraging mentor. Let's go to Max Gonchar from California. I spoke with him before the panel. He has incredible story as well of what kind of different mentorship has impacted him. So Max, go.
All right. Well, hello everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Well, it's an honor to be here with you, and thank you for having me here. I'm already writing notes, a lot of good things, and excited to learn more. As any man of God would, when they hear a certain word or want to know more, they go on Google, right? I'm joking. But basically, a mentor, I look at it, it's an experienced and trusted advisor or an experienced person in a company, college, school, who trains and counsels new employees or students. And then looking in the Bible, you see Moses, Joshua, Elijah, Elisha, John the Baptist and his disciples, Jesus and his disciples, Paul and Timothy. And then we have some bad examples with Samuel and Eli, and Daniel spoke about that. And it's really interesting looking at my life and looking how in Proverbs it says iron sharpening iron, that all of us have experiences and we sharpen each other to do God's work here on this earth. And truly, somebody that I would say was the biggest mentor in my life is my father, who is the pastor of our church. And not only is he a physical father who can provide for the family, but also he was a spiritual leader in the home and passed on everything that he could in his life with the aspect of, servant leadership, teamwork, building other people up. And seeing that maybe we might have a different kind of a personality, you might see that in your mentor or mentors. I'm more administrative. My father's more kind of relational, laid back. And so we do have tense conversations about how things should go. But the thing is kind of rubbing off and learning from each other in that aspect, and somebody who can check your gauges. And I see that there's 3 gauges in life. There's spiritual, emotional, and physical. And in each aspect, when having a mentor is something to say, hey, how are you doing? Are you getting the right exercise? Are you taking care of what you're eating? And then also emotionally, are you just feeling empty or dry, or what's going on there spiritually? What's going on there with God? And are you reading the Word? Are you praying? Are you fasting? And my father is not more of a administrative guy where he says, let's meet up and let's talk about this, and that. But basically over the table when we're sitting and just talking about life and things like that, things come up, and he was a great encouragement. But honestly, there's a desire for me to grow more and to look into more of aspects of growing. And so I started reading books, and that was a great aspect of growth as well. And mentorship is not being able to meet that person, but actually learning from that person and taking in what they have to give. And somebody that really wrote an amazing book, Rick Warren, about the purpose-driven church. And truly, a lot of what he was saying connected with me at a young age, 13, 14. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is something I want to do. And he kind of awakened that passion and desire to be a pastor. And then John Maxwell with leadership and just learning more about leadership and different aspects of that, and the law of the lid and all the 24 irrefutable laws of leadership, or developing the leader within you, and just really understanding that. And one thing that my father said, that the true test of your in the family of somebody that your investment into your kids is your grandkids, because you invest in your kids and what your kids pass on to your grandkids. In the same way with the mentorship, when a mentor invests into you, how you invest into others, that's the fruit of his work. And seeing that in my life and seeing what I can pass on and who I can mentor as well. In the aspect of preaching and teaching, a lot of sermons, a lot of just learning from people outside of the church. We have a small church, but just really hungry, meeting up with pastors, asking them questions. But and sermon-wise, Brother Paul Washer, being a Baptist and all, but he's a Spirit-filled Baptist, and just hearing his sermons and just heard like hundreds of them, because and after listening to his sermon, you want to just repent, you want to pray, and you want to just call out to God and seek him. Mark Driscoll in his glory days, when he was talking about understanding the Bible more, boldness. And then there was a man who took me out and helped me, or actually wanted me to help him with youth ministry and kind of open up that gate with me serving young people and things like that. Boss, pretty much sitting and talking about life and different things like that. So I'm taking a lot of time, but basically it's not only one mentor that sits down with you and invests in you. And I hear that you guys are saying that, that's amazing. But there are mentors that have different aspects of life, spiritual, business, leadership, things like that, and just gleaning and receiving, being a sponge and taking in and writing notes. So that's pretty much my experience with mentors and just taking in and learning.
Awesome. That sounds just incredible. I think just to hear different youth pastors sharing, and each one of you guys sharing, and it's we can all relate to the extent as being youth pastor in Slavik churches of different kind of mentorship style, of different mentorship that we get. I would like to ask Boris Shulga. I think he has a really good experience with mentors. He's in Florida with an amazing church, an amazing ministry. Boris, why don't you share, I guess, your experience with mentorship?
All right, am I on?
Yes, you are.
Awesome. Just a little bit about myself. I grew up actually trying to avoid the youth leader position completely, and I was always running from that responsibility. I knew deep inside, I knew it was coming. I just didn't want it to come. But 4 years ago, I got invited to do youth ministry here in Jacksonville, Florida. And so when I got there, I realized how inexperienced I am. So never really wanted to learn much about it growing up. But the whole thing is that the previous youth leader, he stepped down. And so it kind of put me in this position where everybody that was on the team, on his team, came up to me and said, "Hey, so what's the plan?" And I said, "Well, I actually don't have a plan at all." But I think one thing that I realized back when I was still in Boise, I moved from Boise, Idaho to Jacksonville, Florida by myself. And back then I knew that in order for me to grow to the next level, I needed a mentor. And I remember seeing an old man in my church that I just really respected, loved the way he preached, loved the way he carried himself, loved the way he respected other people. I came up to him and I said, "Hey, so what do you think about, the relationship that Paul and Timothy had? What do you think about possibly practicing that in our church?" And he said, just the youth should just watch our life and just learn from it. And I'm like, I don't think that's what I meant, but I saw where he was coming from. But when I came to Jacksonville, Florida at that time, I was already praying for a mentor in my life. And I think number one step is you got to pray for a mentor, for God to send you the right people. And I believe I had one of the best examples of what a pastor looks like, which is Vitaly Bondarenko. He passed away last year, but I had a privilege of spending 3 years with him, just watching his life, asking him all the questions, seeing how he reacts with people, how he carries himself. And he just had a father's heart. And the other person that mentored me is his son, which is the current pastor, Bogdan Bondarenko. And I believe he is the most organized man in the country, the best organizer in the country. At the same time, he is the most detailed man that I've ever known. And me coming in, I was not detailed. I was not administrative. He's super administrative. I'm very laid back. And so he challenged me on every single level that I needed to catch up on. And I believe 3 things that I actually wrote down that I want to just share with you guys. Mentors help in transparency is number 1, in helpful criticism, and in ministry experience. So in transparency, I think a lot of guys, gifted guys that should be in ministry, are not in ministry. Why? Because they're not transparent with anybody. They're not open. Like Nick said, you gotta come clean and naked before somebody. You know, there's only one place that you can become naked is in front of the doctor, right, or in front of a mentor. So never confess down, but always confess up. And I think a lot of people are just stuck in their own problems and afraid to share with somebody. And I think transparency is huge. Helpful criticism. So 2 months after I started ministry, one of my projects was to lead the START conference, because it was kind of it was on freeze. So the second month that I came in and stepped in, I was planning the conference. So Vlad, you have a good work in front of you there. But in reality, my pastor, he's been doing conferences for years before that. And so when I got through with this first conference, I thought we did okay. And then I sat down with him and he said, "Okay, are you ready for the corrections?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he takes out the longest list that I've ever seen and starts just grinding me, and just from every angle, just putting me through the grinder. And I was so overwhelmed. And he says, "Well, don't worry. It was still good at the very end." So I realized how much I needed to grow. And I think that's what he helped me do. And the third thing is ministry experiences. That's whenever you have questions, if you don't have a mentor and a correct guide in your life, a lot of times you spend too much time over small details. And what a mentor does is he kind of helps you jump and skip a few steps. So there's some shortcuts with the mentor. It's like when you're climbing up a mountain, if you don't have a rope to hold on to, the first time that you slip, you can end up back at the bottom of the mountain. But what a mentor does is he holds the rope for you. So when your foot slips, you could keep on climbing because it didn't really knock you off the grid. So that's why I believe every single person should have a mentor. It's going to help you in every area of your life, and it has for me. And so over the last 4 years, I think that I tripled my growth spiritually as a person, because of the mentor, because of the power of a mentor.
Awesome. Thank you, Boris. That's powerful. Brother Slavik from San Francisco, he has an incredible testimony about mentorship as well. Slavik, why don't you go and share with us as well?
All right, can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Because I'm so far away, so I just want to make sure you guys hear me. So thank you for this opportunity. It's definitely a privilege for me to be here and speak with you guys. So I'm just gonna jump into my story. I believe that as we grow with time, we need different mentors, right? As we start following Christ, we need one type of mentors. Then we move on, we grow up a little bit, then different aspects, different things. So today I want to just share about my very first mentor that I had in my life, and it was years ago. I think I was around 16 or 18 years old. It was, I think, 20 years ago, guys. It was pretty long, but I still remember this guy. So that's why I picked him to share, my story. And the deal was that, I grew up in Ukrainian church, and back then, I don't want to be negative, but I will just say the way thing happened back then. Back then, churches like my church, in particular, had a lot of issues. The situation in the church was kind of no vision and a lot of judgment. If you guys can relate to it, some way, we were judging all the, progressive churches around us. We were judging each other. We were trying to figure out who's the false prophet, who's the real prophet, things like that. This was our day-to-day kind of job description in the church. This is what we live with, right? Trying to figure out who's who's right, who's wrong. And then one deacon, he moved to our church from, he was in Ukraine, he was in our hometown. He moved to Moscow to study there for some time. Then he came back and he said, "I'm going to open a Bible school in a church." And they say, "Okay, what's the deal?" And he explained it. It was a very simple thing. We met once a week. He brought different material and TV and stuff like that. So we were just going through the program that he brought. And so with time, this Bible school become more like a relationship for us. We had 7 or 8 students there, and we all were the same age, all guys. And he become our friend. And since he had a different perspective on the way church can be done, he kind of treated us with different attitude. He never referred to us, oh, you guys so young, and we had a lot of issues. Trust me. In 16, when you're 16, you have a lot of issues, right? Like you're confused about yourself. You don't know like who likes you, who doesn't like you. You try to prove something, and then you fail. You're so embarrassed for years, over one, unsuccessful preaching, things like that. He never kind of focused his attention on those things. He was speaking to us as we were mature. He was saying, you guys, future leaders, future ministers, I'm praying for you. I'll be always supporting you, things like that. It was so not what we kind of used to in our church, if you guys can understand what I'm saying. So we always were beat up by, you guys play too loud, you guys did this wrong, and we always were kind of under pressure, right, from our church leadership. This guy was different. He was like, you guys future leaders, I'll help you to become who you want to be. And I believe that what he did to us just really changed us and help us not to become the way we, the way we were growing up. You know what I'm saying? So usually when you grow up in a church that has issues, you become, part of the issue, right? It's very hard to kind of distance yourself or kind of, be different and try to help the church. You usually kind of go with the flow. And he helped us to be different. It only now that I realized that if it's not for this guy, his name is Mike, I would be probably the same like everybody else in the church, judging everybody, screaming, for over, yelling over little things, just be, angry about things. And he just taught us how to be different, how to, love people, how to chase your kind of gifts, like, discover your gifts inside of you, just, go after them, just become a preacher that preaches the good news and helps people. And he was the first person that helped me to say my first preaching, like my actual preaching. He after this 2 years finished, he said, okay, so we finished the school. Now everybody should share, their first message or experience in the church. And he kind of helped us to do that. That's why I remember him so much, because of what he did, in my life in that time. It was very important to me. So I think we have two topics today. We have mentorship and overcoming your limitations, right? I think we can have different limitations in life, as we grow, like relationships. Like my limitation at that time was my probably environment. We never, if you just take away right now from yourself podcast, YouTube, computers, internet, you have pretty much nothing, right? You just have your environment. That was my environment back then. Right now, if you don't like your message at church, you can go and play some message on YouTube. You're going to be satisfied, right? You'll get something. You will feed yourself. Back then, we didn't have that. We just had our church and everybody else was in our church. And that was our limitation. And he was the guy that kind of took us, beyond that. He just showed us this is how ministry can be done. And that's why I appreciate him so much. And through the years, like later on, I had different mentors, and I'm a mentor myself right now. I'm mentoring a few guys, but that experience is the most relevant to me today. That's why I decided to share this with you guys, and that's about it. So
yeah, thank you. Well, I have a question, and I'll take any takers. Looks like most of us here, each one of us shared. It seems like to an extent that mentor just came into our life, being it's your father, or being it's your pastor, it's being somebody who's in your church already. So let's say if I'm a youth pastor and I'm youth pastor or youth leader in a small church, Slavic conservative church of 40 people only, and as Slavik said, there's just not much understanding or something like that. How do I find a mentor? What do I need to do? What steps do I need to make to find a mentor for myself? Boris, you gonna take it?
Pray and fast for 40 days. I think that'll do the trick. Like I said, I think my first time that I was looking for a mentor, like I said, we didn't have the same exact mentality of what a mentor was. But I remember coming up to a guy, and he was a little older than me, and I said, hey, what do you think about mentoring me? And a lot of times Many people don't really understand what that means. And so he said, what do you mean? I said, I want you to ask me these questions. I want you to ask me, how's my daily Bible reading? And if I spent some time in prayer. Next time you see me, just ask me those questions, or text message me every other day if you can. And there's other things as well that I said, hey, and hold me accountable for these areas in my life. In other words, sometimes you have to teach your mentor how to be a mentor. Does that make sense? So a lot of times mentors, they don't come as a perfect, trained, out of Bible school kind of mentor. Many people don't know how to disciple, and that's the biggest problem. But I think if you have areas in your life that you need accountability for, or that you want somebody to lead you and guide you, a lot of times it's very important to, we all notice certain things, certain traits and characteristics inside of people that we want for ourselves. And I think those are the kind of people that you want to kind of go after. It's the people that you respect as people. You see things in them that you want for yourself. And I believe that's sometimes you just have to train mentors to be mentors. You have to mentor the mentor. Be your mentor.
Slavik, you said you do mentor some people already. Did you just pick people you mentor, or did they come up to you, or what's your practices like?
Well, usually we're not. Our church is still not kind of accustomed to mentorship or discipleship. What we do, we reach out to people. We see there is a guy that has potential, right? But he's struggling. You can tell that he has issues with finances, or relationships, or always in accidents, right? Always something's going on in his life that is kind of very obvious, right? So what do? We just approach him and say, hey, what do you think if we just gonna invest in you a little more and just help you to kind of start reading the Bible? Because a lot of people, they don't even read the Bible, right? Basic things, right? As it was said before already, like the basic things. So we start with we look for a connection. If we see that this person will click with that person, just by taking a chance, right? It looks like these guys can communicate together. So we try to connect them. If that doesn't work, that's okay. We can find somebody else. But we always just use our kind of judgment. Okay, this person probably is going to be good with this person, and just trying to kind of connect them on that level. Yeah, that answered the question.
I have another question for all of us that came from people who are watching us. What is the characteristics of mentor? In a sense, who is the mentor? When you're looking for a mentor, is it somebody who's more in experience in ministry than you, knows Bible better? Who can comment on that? Max.
Yeah, one thing that kind of referring back to the question really quick about the smaller church and conservative church and the situation. The worst thing that can happen is to begin to complain about the pastors or the church and things like that. And that kind of creates more of a toxic environment for yourself and for people around you. Great book, the story of the three kings, Saul, David, and then Absalom. And David was under a toxic leader, but God was teaching him something through that. He was creating his character. And the same thing in the church that you're in, God is working in you to work out a character where you're respectful, submissive, and he's teaching you something so you can go on to the next season of your life. But one thing that we were doing in the question of, what kind of mentors do we have? I mean, people can be younger than you, people can be the same age as you, somebody can be older. One thing is for spiritual fathers. You see that they can, if there's no spiritual fathers in the church, there won't be any spiritual children. So if you can see somebody that's respectful, somebody that loves the Lord, and you can learn from them always, iron sharpens iron. Something that we started in our city was just calling youth pastors together and just talking, having tea at each other's houses, praying for each other. And you can see some coming out of that toxic environment, and then those that are just sharing and opening up their hearts. And we called ourselves the AMOX, men after God's heart. But I don't know, something like that. But it was really exciting just to see everybody's story, hear what's going on, share experiences, praying for each other, and being that support for one another and be accountable. And that was a great help. So in that aspect, it can be older, your age, or even younger.
Cool. Any other comments on characteristics of a mentor? What are you looking for in your mentor, characteristics that your mentor has? Nick, Vlad, maybe you guys can share something. No. Well, let me comment on this. Characteristics of the mentor, particularly, you know, we talked about somebody who has more ministry experience than us, possibly, you know, who has been working in the ministry for some time, obviously knows the Bible better than us, or somebody that we can trust, as we discussed earlier, someone that we can be accountable to, and a lot of us mentioned that before. Um, um, Someone who can tell you the truth in love, and I think that's also, it's really crucial, because sometimes people say truth without love and sometimes people speak in love and don't want to speak the truth because they're just so loving, and I think those are things that are really important. I have another question. Do you think your mentor can be one of your best friends, your peers, or you would usually get to the point, is it better to keep mentor-mentee relationship and not become close friends? Maybe Nick, if you can respond to this. You said that your brother-in-law is your mentor, in a sense. I'm assuming he's probably around, probably the same age as you. I don't know if he's so much older than you or not, but do you think mentor can be your best friend? Like if you're best friend with somebody, they become your mentor, or best friends and mentor relationships, two different things? It's like, I don't know, maybe father and son relationship, maybe mentor and best friends are not, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can answer as much as I can, but I'll tell you, speaking about me and my brother-in-law, I mean, I've known the guy since I've been, 10 years old, and I got to live in his house when I was 19, whether he was about plus another 12 years older than me. I mean, answering the question, do you think your mentor could be one of your best friends? Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. He might be your best friend, and I don't know about how he can mentor you. Yes, of course he can, if he's mature enough, if you can see that his actions and his words and his lifestyle will show you that this is the one who can mentor, who can help you out. Because I mean, we are not judging of the outward appearance, right? We can be on one age group, but the mentally spiritual level of ourselves can be completely different. You know, somebody can be grown enough spiritual father already at the age of 18, 19, and there will be kids drinking pure milk and complaining and grumbling about lots of stuff. I mean, so it all depends on the personality with who. So you can discern it from the fruit that they have produced, or how they live a life, how they talk back, how they communicate, how they share life and live life. So I'll repeat the same thing. If your nakedness can be impacted and be encouraged by that same person and by your friend, and you feel comfortable and you can see that he is mature enough, I don't see a problem, you know. So mentor is someone who is able and capable of carrying you through. You know, we have Paul and Timothy, where Paul been writing to Timothy the standards of the deacon, of the minister, and stuff like that. So just run through it, check it out. If the criteria your friend meets, why not? Sure, you know, and just go with it. So that's my answer on the question. I don't know, maybe somebody thinks other.
Anybody else have anything to add? Can your friend be your mentor, or do you need some special other relationship? Vlad?
Yeah, I think a friend is more of someone that's on your spiritual level. I mean, I've never met a person that's like on fire for the Lord, being best friends with someone that's, let's say, a little bit behind, you know? I think a friend, you generally become friends with people that are on the same level with you, spiritually, that have the same desires, goals, and passions. I think the beauty of a mentor is that a mentor is someone that's kind of a little higher than you, that he can call you up to a different level. And I think we see that in the Bible as well with Paul and Barnabas, who are friends, and then or like ministry partners, I guess, and Paul and Timothy, who were mentoree relationships.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think at times when somebody's somebody's friend, there's certain expectation, different kind of expectations than if you are having a pastor or some minister being your mentor, somebody you can look up to. And I think it's a really good point that that Vlad made, that he's raising you up, he's picking you up. One question, I know the time is coming up so fast. One question I want to address to Boris and Nick mentioned that being honest and transparent with your mentor, in a sense, how do you build that maybe trust? You know, sometimes we just keep certain things to ourselves, and we don't want, especially if your pastor is your mentor or something like that. How do you build that trust to come and just kind of be as open as you can be about your problems? And in a sense, how deep do you go? Like, do you just go, I don't know, so transparent, so naked, or you just, you know, there's certain things you say, certain things that you don't say? Like, how deep do you go with transparency, and how do you trust your mentor?
Who goes first?
Go ahead, Boris.
Sometimes you just got to risk it. And you just learn to trust. I was a very closed person. I kept a lot of things to myself. But that was my problem that would cause me to slow down, I think, in ministry. And so obviously you can't trust everyone. You got to be wise. You know, if you see a person that's constantly, that's a talker, if you guys know what I mean, then probably not very wise to share everything with him, or even to have him as a mentor. But I think naturally you will have a person that's mentoring you, you will probably trust on some kind of level. And you can't have mentorship without vulnerability. So you have to be vulnerable. So in other words, you're risking other people finding out, possibly, in a way, but at the same time, you still trust that person, trusting him that this person will keep it between you guys and whatever else. Because I think the most that I've learned about mentorship is when I started mentoring someone else. And so, you know, there's a certain level that I found out about my mentor, but then when I started actually building relationships with other young guys, I mean, it didn't happen right away that they would trust me. Some of these guys are so close that you got to peel them like an onion. But with every single time, I think with every time that you hang out with them, with every time that you just do ministry together, they learn to trust. And eventually, if they want to grow, once it becomes their interest, they just come out and they lay it all out. I don't know if that answers the question much, but
yeah. And then the question is, Nick or anybody, how long does it take to build a trust for somebody like that? And what does it take? You know, particularly Nick, your brother-in-law is your mentor. Like, how long did it take that he came into your life as this already leader, in a sense, or it took time for you to learn that, look, he can be a good mentor, he can invest into me, I'm gonna, you know, in a sense, did it came over time? What did it take to trust your mentor?
Answering this question, you know, there is some, you know, this in life happens when you meet people, and from the first point of view, it's something just clicks between you and somebody. You can get comfortable with somebody. You can speak about anything. That's one of the starting point for me. But I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen in one day. You better like be careful how you pick. As Boris said, on one side you have to risk. On the other side, you have to watch their life, how they live. Make sure they live a life, they speak what they live, and they live what they speak. And make sure that if it may be for somebody with some mentors, it might be taking, I don't know, maybe days, weeks, month, but I'm pretty sure it's again a decent time has to come in order. You have to know the person, you have to like risk, and you have to be confident in whatever you say. It will be in the silence. So probably the best to pick a person for your mentoring. Your new mentor is the one from the church, is the one from the ministers, from the older leaders, maybe from the mature, really like real mature people. And when you see how they live life, when you see how they treat their kids, how they treat their like the things that you can see on a daily basis, and you will define it, will just click into you if you are able to share your life with them.
Thank you. And then last thing I want to ask, and we're going to be wrapping this up. Is it a risk not to have a mentor, and what kind of risk is somebody taking if it's a risk of not having a mentor? Like, I believe you guys understand the question. What kind of risk are we taking if we don't have a mentor, or is it not risky at all? Who would like to take that one? Slavik?
Yeah, I'll try. It's a difficult question, but I'll try. I think somebody already mentioned today that if you don't have a mentor, you will spend much more time, achieving certain things. You're just gonna learn and on your own mistakes, which is doable, right? Most of us probably had, experiences like that in different areas. It's better to avoid those, of course. But overall, I would suggest everyone not to for those that are interested, not to overcomplicate things. Mentorship and discipleship is not a marriage. You don't stuck with that person forever, right? So before we engage in a mentorship, a relationship with somebody, we say we're gonna give it 3 months as a probation time, right? If this doesn't go, it's okay. We're just gonna, find somebody else for you. You know what I'm saying? So we set this expectation from the beginning. And speaking about being open, with the person, sometimes you can with certain people, at first you may think, okay, I can share my, things with this person, but once you start meeting with this person, you realize, okay, it's not gonna work, right? So instead of being stuck in this relationship and not being honest and genuine, right? You can just call it out. So you know what? Let's just switch. Let's just I'll go to a youth pastor or get a different mentor for this for next season, things like that. So my encouragement is not to overcomplicate and not to be stuck in the thing. So because mentorship, you have to protect the integrity of mentorship itself, because you can mentor people to the degree that they'll do crazy things, right? We don't want that. It should be kind of monitored by pastor. Pastor need to know what are we talking about, how we do this, right? Why we do this, like the goals and everything like that. So I encourage to be open and try. So you try with this person, doesn't work, that's fine. Try with another one, and this is my recommendation or suggestion. That's it from my end.
Thank you. One more question we have from our friends here who's watching us. Can a mentor be someone of the opposite gender? Max?
Just great question before that, and I'll jump into the one with the opposite sex. The aspect of if you're not under authority, you can't be an authority, and you always the aspect of this pride where you know everything, you can do everything. Even David had his ups and downs, and we have those ups and downs. And a lot of pastors that either abused authority or had sexual relationships with someone outside of their own marriage or money situations. All of them said that there's something that happened where they stopped reading the word, stopped praying, and they fell into sin. And it says in Ephesians that the devil's like a roaring lion, and he waits for somebody to fall weak, and then he pounces. And it's always good to have somebody there to support you and to encourage you. Somebody in the opposite sex, that's a very hard question. You know, if you're married, your wife can be somebody that can help you grow in a certain area, because they're kind of somebody who has experience. I'm more of what is that word? Administrative kind of guy. So feelings are not a big thing for me, maybe all guys. And so my wife is teaching me to be more sensitive, you know, things like that. But if it's somebody around your age or maybe a few years off, I would be careful, because maybe you might have emotional connection with them, and then you might get closer, and then something might happen and you might have a problem with that. But if it's someone you're related to, or your spiritual, or your real mother or aunt, or somebody, that's always good, because I hear grandmas pray for their grandsons, and they encourage them and teach them the Bible and things like that. So they're a mentor. But somebody that's opposite sex, and you can get into some problems with that.
Yeah, and the Bible also talks about, it says the older woman minister to the younger woman, and so on and so on. And so I think in the general term, because personally for me, I've been impacted by women's ministry, particularly, you know, which is working with Teen Challenge. I had certain leadership that were ladies that impacted me in a great way, training wise, and on general terms, but things like more personal things, you know, personal pains and whatever we're going through, I think is the best to probably minister man to man and woman to woman. And then we have one more question, and we'll end at that. Can we have more than one mentor in our life, and does this mentor have to be a Christian? I think to answer that question, I'll take maybe this one. As we talked about, I think we can put everything together. There's different mentors in our lives at different stages, sometimes in different areas. You know, and particularly about being a Christian, I do believe, you know, if that mentor is mentoring you as a youth pastor, you better be filled with the Holy Spirit believer, you know, and obviously if somebody's mentoring you in a business, it's probably the best thing that they're Christian, but it's a good thing that they can invest into you in more you know, secular side of it. Anybody else have comments on this? Good.
If I may, just 1 second. I think it all depends what you're trying to achieve. You know, there's a different perspective as if you being a mentor or you being a mentee, right? If you need to be mentor in the business skills, right, and you don't have anybody at church that can mentor you in that particular area, I personally think that it's okay to find somebody from whatever, you know, business world that is, you know, respectable, you know, genuine and with good principles, and just be mentored by this person. I think it's okay, but it depends what you're trying to achieve by having a mentor. So what's your goals? Like, you know, that will explain, I think.
And then as we conclude, I just want to give 30 seconds to a minute to each one of you guys. Make your last remarks encouraging for the youth pastors, particularly about the topic that we talked and about mentorship. And Max, we'll start with you, put you on the spot. We cannot hear you, Max, though.
Bam, there we go. You guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool. So again, it's up to you. It just being humble enough to come up to somebody like you know, Boris said, just say, hey, I mean, I see certain characteristics in your life, and that I would like to learn from you, and I would like for you to be a spiritual father in my life. And we have a very, very busy life, busy schedules, and maybe once a week is not enough, but once a month or something like that, where just checking in and exposing yourself. And trust takes some time to build, but as you carry on, we're not sprinting. We're not gonna, you know, finish really fast. We're in a marathon, and we have our ups and downs, and it's good to have somebody there praying for you, supporting you, can give you words of counsel. So just pray about it, and just maybe if they don't come to you, you take a step and you start asking them.
Yeah, thank you. Nick?
Hey, do not be afraid to share your life with somebody. Do not be afraid to be naked before someone. May your weakness become strength by the power of the mentor, by the one who can speak into your life and help you to grow a greater leader, a greater minister, who can lead you to the your destiny that God has for you.
Awesome, Vlad.
Yeah, I believe the golden rule of leadership is asking questions. And I think with that state of heart of asking questions, God will honor you in a sense. God will see your heart and bring people into your life that will answer those questions. So I just want to encourage, every youth pastor, just ask questions, love, and be open to receive, and God will bring those people into your life.
Boris?
Yeah, so I think that in order to lead, we must be led. And I think we all believe in biblical principles, and mentorship, discipleship is the word, is a very biblical principle. And I think we all want our youth, our young kids growing up to be mentored and to trust us. At the same time, if we're not trusting somebody, then we have to start modeling that ourselves. So I just say go out, just start doing it, start trying it. If you don't have a mentor, if you do, then start mentoring someone else and keep the cycle going, and teach your disciples to disciple, and keep it going, keep the chain rolling, and we're going to grow the God's kingdom. So God bless you guys.
Slavik?
Yeah, I'm just gonna second what Boris just said. It's something that Jesus told us to do, disciple people, and we just have to do it. I think this is the most important ministry in the church. At least it should be, right? That's it.
Awesome, thank you. We will continue actually this discussion in October. For those of you guys who will join us for our retreat here in California, we'll be talking about spiritual fathers, spiritual mothers, mentorship also. Join us in October, register, and thank you, youth pastors, thank you, friends, thank you everybody who's watching us for joining us today. I believe this has been a blessing for all of us, beneficial. I believe we all learn and grow from this. So God bless you all. Alex will send you guys an email and information on our next webinar that will be happening next month. It should be a great webinar. We talked about it earlier today with Alex, so looking forward to that. God bless you. And Brother Boris, why don't you pray us out today?
Sure thing. One more thing before we go. We do have a discipleship program starting in September. If you guys are interested, you could go on our website, slavicmissionary.org. Send some of your young people that you feel like need to get invested for in ministry, and I think it's going to be a big blessing. But let's just pray us out. Lord Jesus, we just thank you, Father God, for this awesome night. And we thank you, Lord, for speaking to every single one of us, Lord. I pray, Lord, for every leader that was watching this, Lord. I pray, Lord, that you would guide their ministries, Lord, that you would guide their life. Father God, I pray in the mighty name of Jesus that mentorship, Lord, would be a practical thing in every single church, Lord. I pray that we can continue being discipled and disciple others and grow your kingdom. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, God bless you all.
All right.